Hello there, and welcome back to Circling Seattle Sports on Converge Media. We are your hosts, as always, Charles. Well, I say as always, we haven't seen Bel in a little bit, so welcome back to Bel. In the do you like splice up a hoodie? I mean, we got some maroon and some
look.
blue.
Some black.
Did you actually splice that up, or is that actually a design?
No, I bought it this way.
We're gonna not ask about fashion because I don't know any of that. You can just see I just wear team apparel. We're back here. This episode is being recorded the night of the 19th as opposed to the day of the 20th. The game that's taking place before this episode airs, the Kraken at the Sharks. We'll have coverage of that next week, so you look forward to that. But at least going through the notes this week, Bel, it felt like a lighter week, but I'll say that and we'll still end up at the same time. I'm sure that's how that goes. I don't know, not the worst thing in the world to see what we got over the course of the past week. There are some things that, not so great. But overall, I'd say all right. So this one too might be something. Our first subject might be something that's a little bit under the radar, with some front office staff members leaving the Seahawks. So why don't we jump into that and sort of talk? We'll open our Seahawks segment here.
Yeah, so diving right into some team notes here. On the 15th, it was announced that QB coach Dave Canales leaves the Seahawks to become the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. Canales has spent 13 seasons as an assistant on Pete Carroll's staff, dating back to USC. Assistant wide receiver coach Brad Idzik is also joining the Buccaneers to become their wide receiver coach. So looks like we lost a couple of our staff members to Tampa Bay.
So this is interesting, Bel, and I wanted to take a second and talk about that because there was that. This last one I'll add that took place a little bit earlier in the day isn't as maybe necessary that I'd speak on, but the Steelers are expected to hire former NFL linebacker and former assistant linebackers coach Aaron Curry from the Seahawks to be their linebackers coach. So a few guys are heading out from Seattle that are, I don't want to downgrade their position, but they're like minor coaches, in a way. But with Canales, I know that you talk about him being around since the Pete Carroll days, the quarterbacks that Pete Carroll has worked with at USC. Obviously, you look at Russell Wilson here, the work that was done. Oh, I'm not going to do that. Oops. I want to put myself out of focus. Geno Smith here, right? There was a lot of talk about how important he was to Smith and Locke this year. And a lot of people think that his departure and obviously the retirement of Tom Brady might mean that we see Drew Lock go to Tampa Bay. Interesting enough, which, I personally, I was wrong in the beginning of the offseason last year. We got that out of the way. We apologize like every single week. But I really wouldn't be too worried if we lost him. I know, if you look at some of the social media interactions, I don't know if you saw it, Bel, but Geno was posted a pic in the Seahawks weight room. And I think Quandre and DK were like, he needs to get his behind out of Seattle and go on a vacation. And Geno called Quandre short. Quandre said something else. And Geno was like, when you're back in Seattle, we got to meet up for the old Oklahoma drill. So that was fun. But it just seems like with stuff like that, and the talks, the words that are being used by Pete Carroll and by John Schneider that Geno's going to come back. It's just about, I'm sure, hitting down the finalization of the numbers. But I don't know. It's interesting to see how some of these minor coaching changes could affect something like the day-to-day work. I know like Sean Desai has been interviewing, right? And he was a guy that a lot of coordinators in the offseason were like, oh, he could be a head coach someday, right? So I don't know, just interesting to see these position coaches leave and wonder what impacts they'll have on this team going forward. I mean, the voids that they'll leave going forward. You know what I mean? So I wanted to address that, see what you thought about that.
Honestly, I don't think I would see one of our key players like that following a coach. And like you said, we're not trying to downplay their role or anything. I just don't think that it'd be enough of a reason. And then I also just they're going to Tampa. I mean, Tampa just lost Tom Brady, so yeah, I don't see it happening. But the only reason why I could think that the staff would have leave for a different position in the first place is just an upgrade in position, upgrade in pay. That's all. That's what we're all striving for. So, but yeah, I don't see it making an impact on our roster and people following them. So, hey,
Oh, I don't have any comment. Yeah.
move on to the some news that we received on the 16th. The team has also announced 4 promotions in their personnel department. Nolan Teasley now holds the title of assistant general manager. Teasley first joined the Seahawks as a scouting intern in 2013, in part thanks to fellow Central Washington alum Heinlein, then became a personnel scout in 2014. He later was promoted to assistant director of pro personnel, then director of pro personnel in 2018. We also have Matt Berry, who is now the senior director of player personnel. Berry, who joined the Seahawks as a Southwest Regional Scout in 2008, became a national scout in 2014 before being named director of college scouting in 2015. He will continue to have a strong focus on college scouting while also being responsible for the pro scouting department as well. Aaron Heinlein, who steps into Berry's former role as director of college scouting. Heinlein, who previously served as assistant director of college scouting, began his career with the Seahawks as an intern 17 years ago.
Jeez.
A Woodinville native, and Heinlein played college football at Central Washington. Willie Schneider will take over as Teasley's former role of director of pro personnel. Willie Schneider began his career with the Seahawks as an intern, working with the personnel department as well as the coaching staff. Most recently held the title of assistant director of pro personnel before this promotion to director of pro personnel. Some decent moves there.
I don't know. It's just interesting with the last two, right? Two here started however many years ago as an intern, and it's really interesting. Like I saw, you've met Jen, right? Jen Mueller,
Yes.
at those games. And I only mentioned Jen because a few weeks ago she posted a thing about how Root was hiring interns, right? And I just, you never know what you can do with those opportunities, really. And then now us two are talking about these guys who used to be interns and now they're taking positions with the team that will be potentially influential with the franchise's future. And you talk about college scouting, and sooner or later here, man, I think we should get together and we'll do some mock drafts because things are heating up. I saw something that the actual Seahawks account posted where, with the 5 pick, we take Jordan Davis, which is great, beautiful, love it. But then at the 20, we take the quarterback out of Florida. I think it's Anthony Richardson. I'm not going to take a quarterback with my first 2 picks, especially not in the first round, considering that you're likely getting a deal with Geno done. I get that you want to build an actual quarterback for the long-term future, but I think you've got too many things to address on the defensive side of the ball to go outside of defense unless you get a playmaker like Smith and Jigba at that later pick. But that's something that we should save maybe for like next week. But yeah, with college scouting, again, it just gets you prepared. We're Super Bowl's ended. We're a week off of that. Now we're looking towards the draft and the combine and all that sort of stuff. So this one's a little bit more fun, though. We get to look at what these guys are doing in the offseason. Then 2 wide receivers that are doing, they're activities, but they're 2 very different activities.
Could you call them both sports?
Both? No, I'm not gonna call both. Sorry. One's a game you play when you're drunk on the beach or something. The other is an actual
There's a
sport.
whole tournament. Okay, we'll go into it. Tyler Lockett has been participated in the American Cornhole League tournament and actually made it to the final. That's a great picture of Tyler Lockett there. That's the only reason why I asked if you could call both of them sports, because hey, there's a whole league. I mean, that's news to me.
Yeah, but there's like a Dungeons and Dragons league, I'm sure. That's not a sport. Come on. Come on.
All right, we'll move on to DK, who has also been busy here. He participated in the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game and won the MVP award. He had 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 blocks. And I think we've seen circulating that video where he makes that catch way high. I mean, the vertical on him is crazy. So, of course, that led to skepticism that he would get drug tested. And apparently, after the All-Star game, they
Like
decided that they would drug
clockwork.
test him.
Hi, DK. Can you pee in a cup for me? We need to make sure that's okay.
You're good at basketball too. Hold on a minute.
Hold on. I didn't watch that event, but seeing some of the clips of him, like, I think he had a transition dunk. I was like, God, dude, Jesus Christ! Like, spare some athleticism, please. I want to go and play center field again, like when I was young. Please give
You gotta get on that diet, that candy diet.
that and chocolate strawberry milk. I think it's strawberry milk is DK. Yeah, the Nesquik. I got to get the Nesquik sponsorship. God, yeah, that was, I don't know. That is cool to see what they're doing, but yeah, just kind of funny to see. That would, it would be great if we had the rights to the videos. Is have DK, doing his dunk on this one, and then we have Tyler cornholing. I don't even. I'm
Throwing
sure.
a sack.
Yeah. So again, someone out there who's pro cornhole, sure, whatever. But I'm sorry. We had a kid in middle school who's like, chess is a sport. I'm like, no, it's not. That is a game. It's not a sport. Anyway, before we cause any more argument, we will switch gears here to another real sport and go to our Mariners who, I was talking to our guy Big O just a few hours ago. And he goes, we were talking about something that, people will see later. But he goes, Chuck, can you hear that? Can you hear that in my voice? It means baseball is coming. And I'm like, he's got a damn great point. Baseball is coming. Even set up the notes. We've got some a piece of team news here, some league stuff. And then I was like, okay, that's it for the oh, wait, they have games this week. They have games. So all this chaotic energy that comes with this baseball team is going to come back. I've heard that word a lot the last few weeks, and I'm like, hey, that word stays with one team, and it's well deserved. So we'll get into it. On the 15th of the month, we found out that Taylor Trammell suffered a broken hamate bone in his right hand during a workout prior to him reporting to spring training. I believe Scott Service said that actually took place 48 hours before he was supposed to report to the team. The expected recovery time for that is supposed to be 6 to 8 weeks. So tough. I believe Scott actually in his video, it's somewhere in here is the hamate bone. And it's interesting, and you can see the banner here. It's nice to see, Belle. You've got the spring training logo to the side of you there, which is beautiful to see that, to get games going again. But this has been my buddy Paul, even my buddy Stitch God, asked me something. He was like, so with Trammell out, who's playing in left? And I go, well, that's an interesting discussion. I think first and foremost, Jared Kelenic is in that discussion automatically. I don't need to debate his name. I shouldn't have to, because right, you look at it, there were what corner is Teoscar going to play? He's going to play right field. I have to imagine that's what he's playing before. We don't have to discuss who's in center. But it was interesting when, Bell, we were at the pre-spring training media event. DePoto and Hollander talked about having a platoon and left field, and they said that Kelenic and Trammell would be a part of it. And I was really surprised by the Trammell comment, because I really thought that Sam Haggerty played great in left field. Great athleticism. A lot of people, someone I talked to actually said they want to see him in the infield. I don't think that makes any sense, considering that 3 of your infield positions are basically locked up with Gino, JP, and Ty, and Colton Wong was brought in to be the second baseman, right? I know that they'll get both, like they'll get all of those guys, all of those infielders, rest days and such, and rotate them out. Dylan Moore is going to play a good amount, I'm sure, at second base. Evan White being healthy could be great for the backup first baseman spot. I saw some comment that said he should take first base and have Ty DH. I'm like, Ty has been playing at a Gold Glove level the last 2 years,
Mhm.
and he's just a much more all-around hitter. So I'd take more of a proven commodity, right? I mean, if Evan White comes out and plays like the Jesus, then that's a different discussion. But so I don't know. I was just like, why is Sam Haggerty not being thrown into the left field discussion
Considered.
more? I would.
Yeah.
So do you see what I'm? Do you see why I'm interested in that? And I know that AJ Pollock, with him being signed to that free agent deal, there are a lot of talk about him being DH, and kind of being in that platoon as well. But I know he hits against lefties really well, so we'll probably see him in a lot of hefty lefty,
Lefty, lefty.
um, a lot of lefty lineups. But I just Depoto talked about Cade Marlowe. Marlowe was called up towards the end of the year and actually for the playoff run. Didn't get any game action, I don't believe, in there as well. But I don't know. I just personally, I think it's between Kelnick and Haggerty, and it should stay that way. Throw Pollock in
Mhm.
there, sure, but I would like to see both of those two guys that I have mentioned get the most playing time in general. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just want to open that up to you as well.
I think I completely agree with you. I think Haggerty really impressed towards the end of the season last season, and it was really a blow when he suffered, what was it, the groin injury?
Yeah, yeah. I
So he
think
was
Matt actually has photos of him walking back to the dugout, being carried away. Wow. Yeah, great call.
yeah, yeah. So up until then, he was fantastic. He was exciting to watch, making great catches. I don't see why you wouldn't throw his name out there.
Yeah, and I've given guys hard times before, right? Like in 2021, and even heading into the off season, I really wasn't a fan of like having Dylan Moore take a starting spot at second base. I was like, he's fine, but I would again, if you want to compete for the division with Houston, and you saw Bell the way that the wild card race went this year. Boston hung around for a bit. Obviously, we played Toronto. Baltimore was able to kind of hang around for the longest time. You can't settle for fine, right?
Mm.
You have to look for that. And granted, Dylan Moore has been stellar. His underlying numbers are solid, but I want a starter caliber at second base. If he can grow into that, great, sure. He just signed a 3-year deal, I believe. I believe it was 3 years. Later in the day after the pre-spring training event. Haggerty as well. I was like, I remember seeing him play in 2021. I'm like, great, another guy that's he's a great utility guy. He's very versatile, like the Mariners like. He just can't hit the baseball, and he's just kind of okay. When you can show me something, fine. And like Moore has with certain moments, Haggerty did that a lot down the stretch last year. I believe it was our guy Proof got some photos. I believe it was Proof. It might have been Q, who got him diving into the corner for a great catch on a Sunday. So yeah, I just think it's between Kelnick and Haggerty. And the Trammell thing, it sucks. Obviously, you'd like to get everybody here to compete through spring training and have it settle itself out in the natural order things, and I had to be like, oh well, this guy's injured, so he'll come and contribute at a later point. So you'd like to have guys healthy, bottom line. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough thing, but anyway, yeah, that's our piece about it. And it'll, again, with spring training ramping up and we've got games coming up, eventually they'll sort itself out. Really, games are the ultimate indicator at the end of the day, so the only piece of league knows that we have here is that on the 13th, the MLB's Joint Competition Committee has voted unanimously to make the extra inning rule permanent for all regular season games moving forward, 2023 and beyond. So that was mixed reviews. I don't know how you feel about it, Bell. Going into extra innings, they placed the runner on second base at the start of every extra inning. I'm good with it because I think we talked about it last week, actually. I think I talked about it in the show last week, but we'll get your take on it. I'll just say mine really quickly, is that, you want people to, like, you weren't always the biggest proponent of the sport of baseball, right? And so you want more people to be interested in this sport. You want more action. You want it to not take as long as it has. Putting a guy on
Yes.
second to make people come around to get the chance of a run scored much easier. I just think it's a no-brainer, personally. I get how the problem is there's so many people that follow the sport of baseball. They're like, oh, the old ways, we should not get away from the old ways, and it's like that. Why do we still follow that? You want to
So,
adapt and grow.
yeah, with you saying that in the old ways and me just coming in and kind of still learning things, what was that? Was there not a runner on second
Nope.
usually?
Just
Okay,
just like we were playing another, like the game just kept
just
going.
regular inning. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why we saw what we did in the 18 inning games. It was interesting though, because, and this isn't a thing to take against the ruling, but in the 13 inning game against the Yankees, right? Uh that rule was in play, and the Yankees bungled the opportunity with the runner on second again and again and again. Obviously, we did as well, but that was I'll remember that game for a long time. But yeah, I just think, if you want to make this game interesting, you want to continue to make it interesting, and you want to speed it up, it just makes a lot of sense. It's just going to have to be done. You're just going to have to deal with, it's like the shift. There's some people who are
Mhm.
like, oh, why are we banning the shift? And I see a lot of players like Colton Wong, him talking about how it'll help him defensively when the shift was like made to help defenses. It's very interesting to me. So we'll see how it plays
Yeah.
out. Again, though, you want this game to grow ultimately. So I think that's what should be at the forefront of all these discussions. So
Yeah. I
we
think it's
have
also interesting. Sorry. It's also interesting just to see who your team chooses to put on second base. So,
no, well, uh the what was it? It's always the last batter that just got
oh,
out.
okay.
Yeah, so it was
I
like,
didn't catch that.
yeah, sorry about that. So it was like if Carlos Santana just struck out the last inning, you've got Carlos on base. And it's like, oh, great. What do we? I mean, I'm sure that you can have a pinch runner in, but
Yeah.
in some of those games, like the 16 inning game, yeah, it's like, okay, what do we do?
I
We
guess you
we
can't really say
exhausted
that
our
there's like
options.
you can't really say there's like an advantage thing to it then. So, yeah,
It's
I
kind
don't
of like
mind it.
it's got its cons too. So we have games to look forward to. You remember that day, that October day we were there and felt like our brains were melting for how long we were at that game and
Oh my god.
all of the
But it
energy
still
for it.
only feels like yesterday.
Yeah, so it'll be crazy when we finally get to put this up on the board. We've got the Mariners' upcoming games finally. So the first game of spring training for our Mariners is on the 24th. Technically at the Padres, but obviously with spring training, all of these teams are in pretty close, all driving range. 10 12:10 p.m. I apologize. I'll actually pull up the because everyone's like, where can I watch this? How do I listen to it? Root Sports will be carrying a good amount of these games, but not all of them. Some of them you'll have
Hmm.
to listen to on the radio. Uh, so okay, that game against the Padres is a 7:10 ESPN Seattle. I'm not going to call them the Seattle Sports name because it's not true. 7:10 radio for the Padres game. So that game won't actually be streamed. The game on the 25th, which is another am I still there? There I am. Okay, sorry, I'm lagging. The 12:10 game against the Angels is en route. Okay, so that'll be on Root Sports. And then the game on the 26th at the Royals, which is a 12:05 start, will be on the radio as well. So seems like we're radioing it these next few games, but actually, I won't say too much, but with these games that Root will not be carrying, we'll have some highlights for you to watch video wise. So keep an eye out for that. I won't say too much. You'll have to wait till next week
Alright.
or for the weekend. So we'll go through that. Now this one's a little bit tough. We don't always really address some of the deaths around our sports world, but this one, considering um sort of not too personal, but a connection to it, I feel like was pretty important to mention. Um, so on the 16th, uh, Simone Edwards, former Storm player, she was part of the 2004 title team. She hailed from Jamaica, uh, passed away after a long battle with ovarian cancer. She outlasted everyone else from the inaugural 2000 roster, um, having been on the team. Uh, and I wanted to mention Simone primarily because of the fact that this last year, 2022 Supers last year, obviously, we get everybody back in Climate Pledge Arena, right? It's a great big deal after being up in Angel Lewin's Arena the last few years. Simone was at so many of those games. So many of those games, courtside. And like I said, not going to claim that it's a personal thing, because I never spoke to Simone. I didn't get the chance. But always had great energy on the sidelines on the court side. Positive, smiling, dancing all the time. They'd have the media breaks or the get hype things, late in the games. Even like some of the halftime stuff, Simone was involved, and always just, through that battle. And the Storm PA would be like, "Hey, let's cheer on Simone. She's battling this, or she's got a new test she's doing, whatever. Like, let's cheer on, keep her, keep her present, and I almost forgot about that because she was always smiling, always dancing, always just such positive energy, you know. Um, and it's tough, a lot of the times we'll see these deaths like Tim Carver, who was a former baseball player and a broadcaster, passed away this past week as well. And it's like, oh, I didn't really know him that well, and I don't know if it's bad to say, but I didn't, I don't have that much emotion towards it. Um, right. But with Simone, the positive energy that was brought uh, was excellent. And, as a former player, to see her around the organization still, it means they did something right. And to see her interacting with the fans, I think there was one point she picked up she had someone's kid, with her, so it was great to have her around, in the 2022 season. And it's crazy. I actually said this quote months ago. We do our little end off on the show. And I talked about it must have been after a playoff game or something, or like a special moment. But life is about moments, right? I had a family member who had tickets to the game where the Mariners clinched. He was a Mariners season ticket holder back in the Kingdom. Always talks about the Mariners, but with me. But that game he had tickets, and he said, I didn't want to go. It's like, life is about these moments. My dad was there. My dad that I shared my love of baseball with, the reason I even care about so much of these teams, let alone baseball. Life is about moments. And it's about what you make with those moments, right? I think about my co-host here, Bel. Like we had Bel and Matt and Liv and all at that ALDS game, which I've got the credential hanging up from the ceiling over there. That's one of my favorite moments of my life, So, and I mentioned that quote because the Storm put out a video, obviously, to commemorate Simone. And that was one Simone had actually this last year. She spoke to the crowd, and she was like praying for everybody whose family had been affected by cancer, and especially with COVID. She always had her mask on, especially as someone who's battling cancer. Want to be careful with that, right? And one part of it, she said, life is about moments. You make the best of it. So, I apologize. these teams aren't just the numbers, right? Like, I know we'll go over to the Sounders next, and there's a scrimmage match, and we'll talk about player of the game and all that. But this is all really special. Sports are always the great unifier. A woman from Jamaica here in the city of Seattle, with all these people that love her for the relentless resiliency that she displayed on the court and in her battle with cancer, right? So, um, I'll stop blubbering like a fish here, but just want to give our condolences to the Edwards family, obviously, but to remember that these moments every day are so important, and to not take those for granted. If you can come out to these events, come and see us, come and do this stuff. You never know. I don't know how long I'm going to be around, so uh wake up, we cover these games. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes you know I say, with Matt being said, and Bell will poke me about it, but being able to have these people uh day in and day out is special. So uh condolences, obviously, to the Edwards family, and hoping that we keep Simone's legacy alive. So um I'm gonna get out of here. We're gonna let Bell do the Sounders segment, as they had a scrimmage against Louisville City at Starfire. This one was a little complicated, Bell, because they did it behind closed doors, which tough. And they didn't really release details until later, um, which is like sick. We didn't even really know if we could come down to Starfire. Well, first of all, we didn't even know if it would be at Starfire or Lumen Field until like the day before, which was tough. And then after this match that we've got on the screen, they had one with the Tacoma Defiance players in Louisville City, and they didn't tell us what happened in that. So, uh, yeah.
Okay, I'm not surprised that when I got to this segment of our notes, then I was like, wait, did the Sounders just play? So, yes, on the 18th versus Louisville City FC, they won 2-1. Our player of the game is Hebert. He had 1 goal scored. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess since you said it was kind of hidden and in the dark, we don't have too much to say about the game.
No, not too much. I know that both Sounders go. Oh, it's still me. Both Sounders goals came in the first half. Hebert had the first one. Christian Roldan got one right before the half ended on kind of a chaotic play. Louisville City got their goal, I think, halfway through the second half. And I think that one also came off of some chaos. So I don't know. It's been an interesting preseason for the Sounders. They had a shortened preseason before they headed to Spain, Marbella, Spain, practice against I believe it was a Hungary and a Spain team before they had the Club World Cup, which obviously was an historic event for the club and for MLS. And then they have some training, and then they have this preseason match with a lower division squad, and now they've got a little bit of time before they have their season opener against a conference opponent. So there's been a lot of discussion around this club, and part of it's because of the injury news. I like I said, there's not too much that I have for you about that scrimmage. Otherwise we talk about it more, but otherwise we're just going to go straight to this injury news because of it continues the preseason talk and all the discussion around it. Raul Ruiz on the 18th did not participate in that scrimmage that we mentioned with a hamstring tightness. Head coach Brian Schmetzer called that move precautionary and suggests that Rule could be good to go for the match versus Colorado, which opens up the season for the Sounders. So there's a gentleman that there's a, well, not even just, I don't want to signal him out because there's more than just him, but the reaction to finding out that he missed that, like there was a thing that I saw that was like breaking, Raul's injured, and he was all angry. He was like, oh, the coaching staff and the players, I'm angry at this. I'm like, then we find out that it was like a precautionary. Again, some people are like, oh, don't buy into what he's saying. Maybe he's just downplaying it. I'm like, we haven't even got to game one, you know. And even so, even if Raul misses this match against Colorado, right? Hebert has been pretty solid from what I saw in the preseason matches, including the scrimmage here, and there's been some pretty good excitement around him participating. I just well, the quote that really sat with me in the preseason was someone asked Brian Schmetz, like, what can you really give us on what you've seen from Hebert? And he said, well, I think the best compliment I can give him is the fact that our coaching staff is trying to figure out how to get him on the field more, and that includes a potential formation change. And changing the way you structure things for one guy, again, I'm not saying like he's not going to be up at the top all alone. He's not the sole focus, but I think that's notable, right?
Yeah.
This was a guy that when the Sounders acquired him from New York City, that a lot of people were like, oh, he's not even that old. I apologize while I grabbed his age, but it's like, oh, he's old, and why didn't you grab a better striker? Why didn't you get a younger one? All this, he's 31, man. 31's not old. He's got a big head though. He's 31. Like, hey, I got a big head. So I just it's obviously there will be overreactions in every sport, right? With every team, but a lot of the times with the Sounders fan base, it's like Raul will sit out a game just for precaution. They're like, oh my God, Raul is dead. The players suck. The coaching staff is terrible. I'm like, dude, he's shooting out. He needs a break, man. It's just the overreactions can be such a big problem. And that's why we're here, right, Bel? We're not here to like buy into that or feed into that. This is reality, right? We're a lot of the times we're here for reality. I'll bring this back up when we get to the Kraken segment because there's a comment that I have to reference in relation to my player of the week. But again, Schmetzer called it precautionary and suggests he could play against Colorado. We'll get more updates throughout the week. So obviously this is a great time for you to follow us on social media, as you can see scrolling on the bottom here. But again, I'm not, if we get concerning reports throughout the week, then I'll be upset. But until I see that, or until I have any indication to be upset, I won't be. Simple as that. So that's how I feel about that. Why don't we head over to League Notes and see? This is interesting. I want you to go over that, but then tell me which of those three you think would be a best fit for a franchise.
Yeah, so MLS commissioner says league wants to hit 30 teams by the end of 2023. Don Garber says that the MLS is in talks with Sacramento, Las Vegas, and San Diego about being the 30th franchise. Las Vegas remains a priority market, and San Diego is a gateway city to Mexico. With those two quotes, I don't know, I'm kind of leaning towards San Diego, but I also feel like California doesn't need any more teams. So
yeah. So do you have a finalized pick?
I think I would go with San Diego.
Okay.
I don't know how big Sacramento is. I mean, I know they have the Kings, but I still don't feel like
yeah.
Not
so
a big sports city.
I'm glad that you picked that because that was my decision. You look Sacramento. Yeah. First of all, Cali, yes, already, yes. San Jose, obviously the LA teams. That's 3 teams already. I don't need to keep going. Las Vegas, I don't know. Like, I hear a lot of conflicting things about how they support the Raiders. They really, the Aces seem to get a decent amount of support. Aces fans seem to be in our mentions a lot.
Aces have some front office stuff going on.
They've got some issue where they would play, right? Are they going to play where the Raiders play? Or they obviously with an expansion, I'm sure they'd figure something out. but just San Diego, I've always liked San Diego personally. You know, they really did the Padres Stadium well. I really like Petco Park. San Diego Wave, new NWSL expansion club as of last year. You know, so there's already that soccer relationship going on. It'd be great to, you know, you could build up the NWSL franchise by having kind of like a partnership there.
Hmm.
You talk about a gateway city to Mexico. I personally, you know, won't speak much to that because I can't. But I just think it's the best option out of the three, personally. Sacramento, I just can't tell you how much support that club would get. Like you said, like what is that fan base like out there? You know, light the beam and all that with the Kings, whatever.
Yeah,
Um, Vegas, I'm sick of giving Vegas teams. You know, if it means that we get our NBA team back, our men's team,
then
sure,
maybe.
whatever. Give them a team. I don't care. But I just think San Diego's the best out of those. I apologize. I lied to you. Um, Something that it's not like super huge, I guess, but you know, new kits are always new kits, right? The
Yeah.
founders unveiled the Bruce Lee kit. Everyone's seen it by now, but we'll obviously go over it. Here's photo of Raul with it. The I you know we'll go through it. There's Nico. You can see more of the design through the lower of the shirt because obviously with that photo rule first it was a little bit cropped. You can see the shorts
Hmm.
as well. And the first of all, you can see the Apple TV logo is going to be right under the MLS logo on that shoulder there, with the Apple TV sponsorship. And then Jordan Morris here with it a little bit close up. You kind of see it close up as well, um, with the kit, the red there. Obviously, Bell, I'm sure you've seen the talks about it. But with the Providence sponsorship, obviously people like, uh, I understand not wanting to buy a kit with Providence on it. I totally get it. I know some folks I've seen on Twitter have been able to buy it without the sponsorship on it, which is
Oh.
nice, big deal. Um, but I've seen a lot of discussion as well on Sanders Twitter where it's like, don't assume that someone has these beliefs that correlate with some of the things that Providence has done just because they buy the kit. It's a really
Right.
nice kit. I'm just going to say that right now. I think they did a great job with that. With so many of Seattle's alternate kits being nods to sort of local things, obviously, with this Bruce Lee kit, with the Jimi Hendrix kit, the last one, um, the Nightfall kit, I believe it was. I don't know if you've seen that one, Bell, but it was
Mm-mm.
black and it had wait. No, it's locked up. Wait, actually, why don't you discuss how you feel about the kit and I'll go get my Nightfall kit.
There you go. I actually really like it. I've always been a fan of the red and black color combo. So I really like just the overall look of the red, but then the also like texture look of it. And then yeah, the yellow just is such a good accent for me. And it really did remind me of Bruce Lee. So I liked it. Yeah, I think this might be I did see the Jimi Hendrix one, and I really like that one too, but I really do think that this one might be my favorite.
Okay. So, um, I apologize. I hope I didn't interrupt in the middle of a good
No,
part
you're
there.
good.
But obviously everyone knows about the Hendrix kit. Even when this came out, people were like, why is it purple? The Sounders don't purple. Nah, anger, right? I'm like, whatever, dude. And then it sold like wildfire, you know. We've got the Jimi Hendrix, we got to stand side by side in the middle here on the back line. I mean, the purple, I put my CCL champions patch on there because I had to commemorate that. That's beautiful. Um,
Can you
the
show us the
Jimi
back?
Hendrix signature. Oh, it's just blank. I
Okay, so
haven't
I
put anything
wondered
on
if
it
they
yet.
show all of them because
Um,
I noticed that the Bruce Lee one is also just like a black back.
yeah, it's kind of disappointing. So there's that. I apologize. I went and ran and got that. So we got that, and this is the Nightfall kit. Now, people again were like, "Why is it pink?" Um, but so and it's kind of got it right here. There's a little design. Basically, there's the famous picture, Bell. Um, it was like, okay, you know some of this because you're from around here. Or you live here a good amount of time. Some of those like summer nights, right? where the sun is going down and it just hits just right, and there's this pinkish orangish hue, right? And there
Yeah.
was a photo of Lumen Field. I think it was CenturyLink at that time, obviously. Yeah, because they were wearing those kits, and that was years ago. But you can see the hue, the pinkish orangish hue above Lumen Field, and that's where they got the design of the kit. So,
I like it.
you can see these last three alternate kits that the Sounders have all had that local flavor, that local inspiration, and it's really cool to see that. It's really cool to see that. I really liked the purple anyway. Obviously, both of us as dogs, the purple just runs in there already. But Jimi Hendrix, obviously, from Seattle, it's like if you don't like Jimi Hendrix, you're like the Antichrist. But like, and at least looking at the Bruce Lee kit, like Bruce Lee, it's Bruce Lee. And also just a dragon. That's a dragon. Like, how do you not like? I'm a simple man. I like Godzilla. Godzilla's cool. You know. So I don't know. I'll probably get one. I'll have to see if I can order one from Adidas that doesn't have the sponsorship. Easy cop.
Is that
But
where people are finding them on Adidas?
I think so. I've seen it on Twitter. A few of my the folks that I follow have been able to find it. Like my uncle is a season ticket holder, and I saw him today, and he actually had his one because they had an event for season ticket. I don't know. Oh no, the Adidas website has a sponsorship. I think it might be. I don't know. We don't have time for this right now. I'm sitting there looking on Dick's Sporting Goods to see if we can find it. But all in all, I like the kit. So that's what I'll say again.
Totally.
I am not at all justifying the sponsorship, but I like the kit. So we will look here towards the upcoming match. So the Sounders regular season begins. Oops, the under part is wrong. I apologize. It begins on February 26th at home versus the Colorado Rapids with a 5 p.m. kickoff time of that match. Obviously, it's tough with this all being on Apple TV. It's a special deal that you have to get. But obviously, and again, this is the perfect time to follow us on social media. You follow us on our socials, primarily Twitter. We will be gladly updating those games in real time as best we can, to keep up with that and keep up with all of our sports teams. And at very minimum, we'll have our game day posts. We'll have our key players to watch. We'll have our key stats to look at. It's a lot of fun. I'm really happy with our graphics and the justice that they get to do some of our photographers' photos. So now we will switch over to our Kraken here. I talked about photos, but we'll have that in a second here. So it was I said overall it's a good week. The Kraken ended their road trip, their post All-Star game road trip. They where was I? Oh yes, was that Valentine's Day? Yeah, Valentine's Day against the Winnipeg Jets was a 3-2 loss in an overtime shootout. So the Kraken are still winless in shootouts this season, unfortunately. Our player of the game, I went with John Hayden. He scored on his birthday. 1 goal, 1 point, 1 plus minus, 1 shot, 1 hit, and 1 block. Philip Grubauer had a great game in that one, but with it going to a shootout, it didn't really matter, unfortunately. The Kraken would be able to bounce back when they return home on the 16th of February versus the Philadelphia Flyers, a 6-2 win. Our player of the game, Yanni Gordo, with 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points, 5 shots, and a 2 plus minus. Yanni, he's like the Energizer Bunny. Like even if you'll notice during the national anthem, he's still jumping up and down like a madman. Someone gave that man too much cotton candy before he went out there. And, he's one of those guys where his effort is nonstop, but it doesn't always mean points, right? Which, but it was good to see him get that on the stat sheet there. And then on the 18th versus the Red Wings, when the Kraken celebrated Black Hockey History Night, Seattle would beat the Red Wings and end their 5-game win streak, beating them 4-2, which actually it's not out yet. The production's not out yet, but before the game, our guy Everett Fitzhugh predicted a 4-2 win, and then got a 4-2 win. So that's pretty cool. Player of the game, Jordan Eberle Ebbs, 2 goals, a pretty darn similar stat line to Gordo. 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points, 4 shots compared to Yanni's 5, and a 2+ minus. Overall, again, like I said, I'd be pretty happy with that 3-game stretch there. Obviously you'd like to get the win in Winnipeg in that shootout and finally get a win in a shootout this year. But to pick up the 1 point with the overtime loss, fine, sure. Every point counts in this division. Philly, you completely dismantle them. Happy with that. I should still send you that, Bell. I forgot. I should have sent you that. But, just thinking about what we do, right? The Philly coach, John Tortorella, after the game was just like, how Marshawn is, how he doesn't want to talk to the media, right?
Mhm.
Tortorella didn't want to talk to the media, but he was a a-hole about it. He was very rude about it, and just total dick. And someone's like, well, you lost this game by 4 goals, right? It's like, how do you someone asked him how the fans should feel or whatever, or what he would say to the fans. He goes, I don't care about the fans. I care about this hockey team. I'm like, I get what you're saying, but don't say that. Don't say that, especially when this team is that Flyers team has sucked like it has this year. Just, glad that's not us though. Wouldn't let that happen to me. And then that game against the Red Wings, and like I said, celebrating Black hockey history. The great logo designed by REG, a local artist at the South Ender. That's TheSou, pardon me, Fender. I had to go and get that. Oh, because there's that logo with the. Oh wait, it's on my hat too. Duh. You got Mount Rainier and the sunrise, and then the Kraken logo. But then the secondary logo, you've seen the anchor before, but he took the anchor and he added the Egyptian ankh on it, which is a really cool idea. I've got the sticker for that still. I don't know what I want to put it on because I want it to last.
There were stickers.
I'll see if I can grab you one tomorrow. That out. But that was a really cool night. We had some of our Converge friends there, and there will be a production out for that. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously, we're on CSS on Converge. But no, I was happy with the way that the week went. I think we should go into players of the week before we continue general discussion, because we'll probably just run into that anyway. So, Bell, you went with Jordan Eberle. Now, it makes a lot of sense, and I understand it. And again, every week, it's like I would go with what you did, but I tried to be different. So why did you go with Ebbs?
I went with Ebbs because he had half of the goals scored on February 18th versus the Detroit Red Wings, which was just, like we said, a monumental night. The Kraken are only one of 14 teams to celebrate Black Hockey History Night. So just like I said, on a big night, he really produced, and he also a big night because the dads were in town. So the newly dad who had his dad there watching had a great game. So yeah, that's the reason why I had to go with Eberle. But I did really like watching against the Philly Flyers. Yanni Gourde's second goal was beautiful. So it was a tough pick this week. That
was God. Yeah, no, I'm a fan of Yanni for a lot of reasons. But yeah, just to see him get rewarded for that week was pretty impressive. And then that clapper that he had, I was just like, wow, that was, but yeah, Eberle too, to speak on it, he's 2 points away from matching last season's total, obviously, and we haven't even hit the trade deadline yet. As a veteran guy, as an alternate captain, as a leader on this team, obviously his presence as a whole is going to be important, but to see the production as well is really important. Every point it matters. The 5 points separate the number 1 team from the 5 team in this division. Those 5 teams are all in the top 16 teams in the NHL. So it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But when you've got performances like that, and you're starting goaltender continuing to play like he has since the year 2023 has begun, things are going to go well normally. I went with Gruby. Gruby had a .926 save percentage over the 3 games. He started all 3 of those games. He started 4 consecutively. I like 95. Like if I could bet money, I would put money on Martin Jones starting tomorrow. I highly doubt Gruby goes out there for a 5th straight. It just wouldn't make sense. And Martin's playing against his former team anyway.
No.
Um, and over the course of those 3 games, Phil had 3.08, but we'll just round to 3. His goals saved above expected. If you don't know what that means he basically 3 goals that should have happened didn't because of his play. So, Bel, before I share that great photo that we've got there, on my article after the Kraken lost to the Avalanche here in Seattle in January, which is a really tough game, a tight game. Seattle was banged up injury-wise. They didn't have a bunch of forwards, so you could argue that their offense should have been there, and they should have been in there anyway. They didn't give Gruby any goal support. That win against Philly was actually the most goal support they've ever given him. I got a comment under that article that I was stroking his ego.
Yes, you've mentioned it before.
Yeah, and I'm going to mention it again because that was a really stupid thing to say. I don't kiss behind just to kiss behind. It has to be for good reason. Since his first start of 2023, and I mean they're like 0.001% off, so we'll just lump them together. And since that comment, his save percentage has been 0.926, which is really, really good, and that goal saved above expected is an entirely that's, that save percentage could be fine. It's like, okay, you got great defensive play in front of you, but with the goal saved above expected, it's like, okay, you're actually playing really well. Right? What do you want me to do? I don't kiss behind to kiss behind. I know what I'm talking about most of the time. We'll get to SeaDragons in a bit. I picked Brendan Knox as my player to watch. He scored tonight. He looked great tonight offensively. So stroking his ego. Stupid. Anyway, here's a great photo of Gruby from the win against the Red Wings where Phil was one of the stars of the night after that win, and he pointed to, I think he said a little girl, Bell, in the crowd, and had the fish go through the photo hole. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, this one, I mean, look at the detail on that. You can see the sweat on his head. Jesus. That was pretty cool. So I think we'll do that more as we go going forward with players of the week. We should include the photo like this so you can get the whole thing on the screen there. Goodness.
Yeah.
Like even I felt bad when I used Matt's photo of Taylor Trammell in the Mariners segment. It's a really great photo, but because of the dimensions, I had to squeeze his head in there. So, anyway, not too much injury news going on. Andrei Burakovsky still is week to week. He was in the locker room in street clothes after the win against the Red Wings, but he hasn't been on the ice. Again, he's week to week. I probably won't hear anything about him until maybe a week from now. So that's your update on that. On the 17th, the team reassigned forward John Hayden to the Coachella Valley Firebirds, leaving a roster spot open. Some people hypothesize that this could be because of a trade, and they're like, oh, Berkey's not back yet, so what's this about? I think the only reason they did that is because if he stayed up here for a certain amount of time, there would have been a cap thing where he would have counted against the cap. So I'm not going to put much stock into it. So if we see him called back in a few days or they call a different forward up, that's probably why. But I won't put too much stock into it personally. Looking ahead for a Kraken. Oh, wait, that's you. Oops. That's your job.
we sit at a.
I was just in a mode where I was moving. Sorry about
You're
that.
good. I mean, I know you can handle it all by yourself, but let me chime in here. We sit at third in the Pacific with 70 points at 32, 18-6 record. Looking ahead, we have a game at San Jose on February 20th, and that is tomorrow. That's a 1 p.m. game. On the 23rd versus Boston, they'll come back home to Climate Pledge. That's a 7 p.m. puck drop. And then February 26th versus the Toronto Maple Leafs with a 4 p.m. puck drop.
I say that, when I was almost, going to run with it, but then my rain segment has nothing. We've got nothing.
Well, you have something.
Yeah, but, before I get there, 8 players have been in the international window. I know that Megan Rapinoe subbed on tonight when they played Japan in the She Believes Cup for U.S. Rose Lavelle hasn't been playing. She's been dealing with an injury. Alana Cook did not play in the match before this one. So Quinn and Jordan Heitema did play for Canada. Didn't see much action. So our Rain Internationals have been there. It's just been kind of slow. So we do have an open media training on Tuesday. So maybe we'll get something out of that. But they're wrapping up preseason. The main focus, like Bel was alluding to, was on the 25th, this Saturday. Looking ahead, we've got an actual match to look forward to. It's a friendly February 25th versus Club America. This is a 7:30 p.m. Pacific time start down at Starfire Stadium. I don't believe this match is being televised or broadcast. So, Bel, what are we going to do? We're going to run a little social on the bottom of the screen here, because we will be there at Starfire Stadium to provide match coverage. There will be photos of the match and an article of it following, in addition to the live commentary that we'll have at that game as well. So again, it just sounds like you should just follow us on social media. That's crazy, right? I don't know.
So crazy.
It's like, what if we had like a place where all of your Seattle teams were and their minor league affiliates and their semi-pro teams all in one spot? Crazy. Anyway, Seawolves. Pretty impressive win to open the season. Why don't we look into that?
Yeah, so they opened their season yesterday, February 18th, versus the New York Ironworkers. Matchup of the... It was a matchup, right?
Yeah, a rematch of the 2022.
Yeah, rematch. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Yes, rematch. So they did pull out the win, 25-11. Our player of the match is fly half Jordan Chait. He went 6 for 6 on penalty goal kicks. So pretty impressive win. I mean, like we mentioned all last season, like you weren't really supposed to be there technically. They went to New York and they weren't able to pull it through. But I mean, your first game, you come back and you take the win.
Yeah, and like I've been talking about the last few weeks, with the dispersal of Austin and LA, you were able to add a bunch of guys like Connor Mooneyham, Mason Peterson, Jake Turnbull, Jordan Chait. Really interesting with him, because he was added like at the end of January, like right at the height, or like right near when preseason was starting or so. And, for him to be an impact player immediately, pretty interesting to me. I know he's 25, he's on the younger side of things. So like I said, this Seawolves club has added tools here and there, whether it be younger ones or guys who are more established, like I talked about last week. It's really interesting. This was a match that was pretty close at the halftime mark. I believe it was 12-6 at the halftime. No, it was 9-6. I apologize. Yeah, it was 9-6 at the halfway mark. It stayed a little bit like that, but Duncan Matthews had a try. It wasn't the last score of the game, but it really kind of put Seattle up top. And then Jordan Chait had another penalty goal kick converted near the end, and it just kind of put the nail in the coffin sort of thing against New York. This match was on FS1, so it was on the national stage. Yeah, I mean, it was really impressive. Just looking at the statistical side, because I was at the Kraken game, so I was watching on my second monitor. But they were able to stay disciplined, take obviously those 6 penalty goal kicks, taking advantage of what mistakes New York made, right? It's, you got 2 good teams a lot of the times, right? And, this goes to any sport. The difference can be who cracks under pressure, who makes that mistake, who takes advantage of that mistake, right? So I'm really happy with this. Yeah, this is pretty solid to begin. A little bit of revenge, like when the Seahawks played the Broncos, like the time after they won the Super Bowl. I think we won that one, but people were like, "Oh, it's going to be revenge for this Super Bowl." I was like, you can't get revenge for a title game unless you beat them in a title game. Like, it's not going to work that way. So I'm not going to say this is revenge, but it's nice, and it's a nice way to start the season, in front of the home fans. And again, just if this team can stay healthy and continue to do things the right way, I find it hard to believe that there are going to be many teams they're going to stand in their way. Chicago, the newest expansion team, well, not technically the newest, but the newest that's actually playing, because Miami's joining next year. There's some things that I don't know if I can say, but yeah, the MLR's got some plans that are really interesting. Again, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, so I won't. But Chicago, a lot of people expected them to be really good because they got a lot of the dispersal draft players from Austin and LA, and they lost by like 10 points in their first game. So again, it's early season though. You got to let teams figure themselves out. The Mariners, we thought they were going to be in a crap hole because they were 29 and 39 in June. And we're like, crap, this is bad. What are we doing? So I don't know. I'm not going to put, again, I'm just excited for where this team might be going. So I don't know. Well, we're going to have to get you down to one of these Seawolves games because they're a lot of fun. I want to continue that with talking about that, because to have that team play on a national stage like FS1, to play them against Rugby New York, I don't know. It's very deserving. Like, there was a really tight match that the Seawolves played against LA last year, and LA was, again, going to be the second team in the Western Conference before all of the stuff happened. And LA took time to post thank you, Seattle. They had won, but they were like greatest atmosphere in the MLR and
That's awesome.
best franchise. And I was like, wow, I've never seen a team that's the Seahawks. Let's see, the Seahawks, the Seahawks and the Rams. The Rams were like, hey, well, no, I don't know, two teams, they go off. I just never seen something like that, so it was really kind of cool to see that. It's a great atmosphere down there. It's very very cozy, right? You're used to, we go to T-Mobile Park, we go to Climate Pledge Arena, right? You're used to stuff like that. This is much smaller. It's much smaller and it's much more intimate. But it's great fun. It's a lot of fun. Our Seawolves community, they're very interactive with us. Our guy Rucky, I still have to get you that sticker. God
I
damn
know.
it. I should have given it to Matt.
Yes.
Whatever. We'll figure it out. But it's a lot of fun. These Seawolves matches are a lot of fun. So I want to keep that on people's radars. But again, if you're Tuckwell is too far, or you're not able to make it, follow us on social media. And again, it just seems like you should do that. It just makes a lot of sense. So anyway, why don't we? Oh, well, I've got some division standings for you before you head off to looking ahead. So in the Western Conference, with our 1-0 record, with our points that we gathered with the win, we are third in the Western Conference. We have 4 points. Houston and San Diego. San Diego is our bitter rival. Houston and San Diego have 5 each, and we have 4. Everybody else in the conference has 0. So I will let you lead us to upcoming.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, if you want to catch some rugby at Starfire, you can on a Friday night, the 24th, versus Rugby Atlanta at 7:30. We will transition to, wow, this feels weird to say. This is the first time that we've had scores for our SeaDragons. So, SeaDragons.
Oh, that's me. Yeah. I was like, let's keep they'll talk. Yeah. I guess I should talk about this one because I don't know how much of this you saw, but yeah, our SeaDragons in their first game of the 2023. Where am I? All right, I'll focus. The 2023 season tonight fell at the DC Defenders. It's a 22-18 loss. Our player of the game, wide receiver Jacor Pearson, 12 catches for 95 yards on 14 total targets. This was just I missed the first half. I had to admit I missed the first half, but the second half was rough. I had just sat down when Brennan Knox, again, I mentioned he was my player to watch when we did players to watch on this roster. Really physical downhill runner that I'm used to in the city of Seattle, right? With my high school has always been a running high school. UW, we've got a good history of running backs that have been here since I've been alive. Seahawks, do I need to talk about the run game, right? See what I'm saying? He had just broken off a 13-yard run. They had taken a 10-point lead. I was like, all right, this is good. They're going to keep going with it. They had taken the momentum. It felt like they were really pushing down on DC. They forced a 3-and-out. The punt had pinned them back, though, into like this supporter section where they were really loud behind this end zone, like right near this end zone. And Ben DiNucci throws a pick six. And I was like, oh, no. And that was the
first.
Yeah.
And that was sad to watch because that was my player to watch. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it was looking good for him for a bit there. Yeah, that was something too. He got pressured a lot as the game went on, and it was like maybe if you give him some more time. But yeah, things just started to collapse from there. DiNucci ended up with 2 interceptions and a fumble. It seemed like, with a lot of the plays that DC was making, they would be able to actually eventually run away with it. But Seattle had strong. They had burned all their timeouts. It was like a 4th and 2. De'Eric King, great running quarterback out of Houston. I believe actually finished his career in college at Miami. Had found success running the ball like all night. It was 4th and 2. He was going to run just a direct snap to him, just running the ball. And I believe it was Trayvon Walker stopped him. It was like, all right, you've got the ball back. You got no timeouts, but you have a chance. And I was literally tweeting about it. I was like, all right, they're on the doorstep. They're on the 1-yard line. They've got some time. It's going to punch it in. And they went for a speed option. Now, I know it's a speed option because I've done the play in like Madden. So, and DiNucci gets I was like, I don't know why you'd run it with DiNucci, though, personally. He had a scramble earlier in the game, and that's fine. But I wouldn't have done it with, like we're talking about with Brendan Knox. He's a physical running back. Give the physical running back the ball. I don't know. Or even use Josh Gordon more. Who knows? But yeah, he fumbled. Until I saw the replay, I was like, oh, maybe he didn't fumble. And then I saw the replay, and it really clearly gets punched out. And I'm like, wow, that was just ugly. It was just a really ugly loss because of the collapse that happened. I'm just really, yeah, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But like we were talking about the Seawolves, right? It's the beginning of the season. It's the very big. This is literally week 1. Isn't that crazy? Like for weeks now, we've been like, all right, teams are building up preseason. We're in week 1 now. We're in business mode. So just like with any team, though, it's gonna really be important to see how the SeaDragons adjust to this and respond to this. I don't know what I don't know how much you were able to capture from it, but I don't know. Just your thoughts on it all.
I'm just not going to panic because, like you said, it's week 1 and there will be adjustments. So hopefully they figure it out. But there was some yellow on the field that was not flagged.
Yeah, I will. Did you see the story on that, or do you need me to do that?
I mean, what I saw a portion of it. I was actually watching it while it was happening, but the lemons were coming on the field because they stopped the what was it, the cup snake?
The beer snake.
The beer snake. There we go. That's what it's called.
Yeah, that was really kind of interesting. I was like, what's going on? I think I heard one of the commentators mention the word lemon, and I was like, what are we talking about? I'm trying to find a photo of it. Oh my God, I don't need that photo of it. I guess we'll have.
You go to an XFL game and you're like, this is the part that you're looking forward to the most. Because I mean, I guess some people would, and they just
took away the beer snake, man. I mean, I don't think anyone was getting hit with the thing, so I don't see what the ultimate problem was. But yeah, that was really interesting. We have this. I mean, it's got title in it. It's got text. There's a lemon.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's what was happening in the third quarter. Bryce Thompson of the SeaDragons actually got a pick on Jordan Ta'amu, which was another thing that gave Seattle a chance that they didn't take advantage of that pick. But Thompson decided to run to the opposite end of the field where that supporter section was, and celebrate. and he and the teammates, his Seattle teammates, got met with lemon.
Lemons.
With some lemons and some cups and some other things they were throwing. They actually did stop the game when this guy came out for the first time.
Yep.
This is just gonna be the whole episode. So yeah, that was interesting. It was really interesting to begin the season. But yeah, like you said, I think it's not time to panic, but be frustrated about it, whatever, be pissed, but move on. We got to move on.
Mhm.
So we'll continue with some team news here. On the 15th, the team actually announced their 2 team captains. Firstly, quarterback Ben DiNucci, and then on the defensive side of the ball, linebacker Jordan Evans, who I think actually I might have picked as my defensive player to watch on the defensive side of the ball. I could be wrong. I could be like, oh yeah, I'm right. But yeah, so your 2 captains on offense and defense, obviously Evans here and DiNucci on the offensive side of the ball. So the SeaDragons sit in an 0-1 record, obviously. In the XFL North, they're at 3rd place in the division right now. Sad times. But they've got interesting that I mentioned Teamu because we're going to play his former team, the St. Louis Battlehawks, in their this team's next game, which is on Thursday. It's a Thursday game, and it's the SeaDragons' first game. You could say first game back, but with them being the SeaDragons and not just the Seattle Dragons, I don't know. First game in Lumen Field of this season on February 23rd versus the St. Louis Battlehawks with a 6 p.m. start. You can watch that game on FX. Yes, you said FX. You heard that right. So we don't have any Sonics news, unfortunately, but yeah, I'll go first and wrap it up here with Simone. I went with Simone as my star of the week again, just talking about the importance, of making the most of these moments, and just to really honor again someone who, obviously a champion with our Storm, but someone who is a champion as a person, to make that impact. You see her obviously with working with some children there, just always bringing the great vibes to those Storm games, and just seemingly an all around incredible human being. So that was my pick, and and the sort of sports heavy side of things, Belle's choice makes a lot of sense, so I'll let you take that away and send us off.
Yeah, I know we said that it's week 1 and things are looking good, but I'm just gonna ride that for now. So the Seawolves, they're my pick. They went undefeated in the preseason in a pretty commanding way. And then I just felt like the statement win for their week 1 win was pretty big and hopefully a testament to what the season will look like.
So you wouldn't have picked that guy?
I mean, I almost thought about changing it, honestly.
Oh, God, that stupid lemon. So that'll wrap us up for the January went back in time. February 20th edition of Circling Seattle Sports on Converge. Obviously, like I said, with a lot of these things, it makes sense if you follow us just here on Instagram, at Circling Seattle Sports. On Twitter, it's at Circling Sports. But if you put the full thing, you'll likely find us. Just look for our logo that's right kind of up near Belle's head over there. And on Facebook, just put out the full name. As well as if you'd like to keep up with 10 teams that are either minor league affiliates of our Mariners and Kraken, or semi-pro teams like Ballard FC, like Tacoma Defiance. Well, I mean, Tacoma Defiance are an affiliate of the Sounders. My apologies. Our Thunderbirds are doing great. Make sure you follow us on CSS Futures. We had Belle cover her first hockey game with the Silver Tips the other night. We had Matt on photos for that. It's those fight photos, man. I don't know what you guys caused down there, but they were not happy.
It's the Chiefs. Apparently it's their thing. So
Oh yeah, no, we saw the same thing when they were playing the Thunderbirds. They like to get into it. So all in all, like I said, it's really important to know that life is about moments and what you make of those moments. So again, I want to thank you all for tuning in. The love that we've felt, I think Belle can agree, over the last few months, especially 2023, has been amazing. I think we're going to crack 1,000 followers on Twitter by the time we reach opening day for the Mariners. There's obviously, again, a lot of work to be done in all of this, but it's still a lot of fun to have the support that we do to do what we're doing. There's a lemon, I guess, now. So until we see you next week, take care of yourself, be well, and do whatever you can to make today a great day.